The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the SLI Systems webinar on learning recommendation. The subject matter expert we have today is Davin Cerezo. So this is presented by Davin Cerezo and Tim Callan. I am Tim Callan, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at SLI, and we're very happy today to have our subject matter expert, Davin. Davin has extensive experience in services for online retailers to help them be more effective, and is bringing a lot of that experience and that knowledge to us today to really help us understand how recommendations can be an important part of our websites, how we can use recommendations to good effect to keep our customers, sell more to our customers, increase our average basket size, our ASP. I'm very happy to be with you, and we're going to get into this right away. A little bit of housekeeping before we do. There's a couple things to consider. One is we do have a good number of people on the call today, so therefore all participants are muted. That way we don't have to hear the person in the office next to you or your dog barking or something like that. However, you can ask questions. And the way you can ask questions is there's a question interface right in your GoToWebinar. And all you have to do is type a question in right there. I will see them. I will be monitoring all of the questions over the course of the webinar, and we'll make sure that everybody's questions get answered. Some of the ones that are good for the whole group, I tend to save them, and we'll ask everybody. If they're one-on-one kind of things, I'll just answer your question right away. So please feel free to ask questions. This webinar is scheduled to be a nice, crisp 30 minutes, and that does include time for Q&A at the end. So the questions that come in, we'll store them up. We'll ask those. We'll also be able to take other questions as they come. So we're going to have a great session today, and with that, I will say take it away, Davin.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tim. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, what we're going to be covering today is SLI's newest product called Learning Recommendations. And at the very core of Learning Recommendations is our patented learning engine, which we're basically taking into consideration shopping behavior, learning from the actions of the user, and then ultimately taking the insights and improving the user behavior. And this spans across all of our different product offerings, including search, navigation, our Site Champion product, which is our SEO product, and what we're going to be covering today, which is Learning Recommendations. So the question is, at the top of my mind has always been, why are recommendations so important? And there are numerous citations as well as articles and case studies out there that claim anywhere from 5 to 25% of online revenue is attributed to recommendations. As a matter of fact, Amazon's homepage, about 75% of the Amazon homepage is allocated to recommendations. So this is a view of my Amazon homepage above the fold, but then when we expand it out a little bit more, there are 12 different recommendations on my homepage. As you can see here, in my case, this is actually more than 70%. This is like more along the lines of 85% of my homepage's recommendations. So with that said, what I wanted to go into is going into a couple of the different recommendation strategies. And it doesn't take rocket science to be able to go into the Internet Retailer Top 100, even Top 500 websites and take a look. And I can guarantee you every single one of them has some sort of recommendation strategy in place. So in this particular case, Target, Walmart, Staples.com, which is IR number 2, and then of course Amazon,
which is IR number 1.
Which is IR number 1. The funny thing about all of these is, there are a lot of discussions about different strategies, the race to the number of strategies. The net is it shouldn't be a race to a number of strategies, because if you take a look at the different strategies in play with the IR 100, they all kind of overlap with each other. And typically, it's all about things such as people who viewed this also viewed, people who viewed this ultimately bought, recommended products, as well as recently viewed. So with that said, real world scenario. I actually was finally in the market for a new inkjet printer because my inkjet printer of over 10 years just decided to finally die on me. And typically I would just go to my local electronics dealer or warehouse and take a look at the printers, but I decided this time, just didn't have time, let's just go ahead and do it online. And the interesting thing about the online experience is, unlike the offline experience where you could go, you could feel, touch the product, look at the underside, look at the back, etc. With the online experience, you don't have those capabilities, so you have to basically rely on other proof points. So the first strategy that we're going to be talking about is best fit, which is basically connecting customers to the product that's best for them. In my case, I went to Target.com and I did a search for printers, and it's fantastic because sure enough, there were printers. But again, when you are presented with printers, it's very difficult to come to a conclusion about which printer is the right one for me. So I finally clicked on one and got to the item detail page, and this is where, for best fit, utilizing strategies such as people who view this also viewed, giving a much more robust user experience in terms of it's giving me options. It's not just siloing me into this one particular printer that I just happen to click into.
Right. So the idea here, if I'm hearing you right, Devin, is somebody might find a product that's pretty close to something they want to buy, but it maybe isn't precisely what they want to buy, and recommendations is a great way to help them find that perfect thing, that gem that is exactly what they're after.
Exactly.
Great. And that can lead to higher conversion.
Absolutely. So the next one that we're going to talk about is confirmation. This strategy is you'll typically see this as people who view this product ultimately bought. And within the recommendation set, 9 out of 10 times you'll actually see the actual product that you're viewing with a percentage sign underneath it of anywhere from 50% to 80% of people ultimately bought this. Now, in terms of, again, the online experience where we can't physically touch the product and we're having to rely on all of these other proof points in order to make a proper decision, one of the things that you're going to be looking for is, customer reviews. People who have bought this product, how are they reviewing it? Do they like it? Out of a 5-star rating, is this a 3-star product, 2-star product, 5-star product? Also going into the text and seeing, some of the pros and cons that they might call out, as well as some of the use case scenarios. In the recommendation world, when you start thinking about like people who viewed this ultimately bought, that's a very fantastic indicator of this is the right product for me, because of the people who viewed this product, this percentage of them actually ultimately bought this product. So again, it's just confirmation that this is the right product for me. Yeah. The next one is, once you've identified the product that you want, is the complementary products. So this strategy is things such as, I've gone ahead and added the printer to my basket. Fantastic to give a recommendation on that basket page of, things that would go well with the printer, such as additional ink. I might be printing out a poster for my son's elementary school. Well, their colors are red, so I better double up on the red ink for my inkjet printers. Additionally, ultimately, I probably will want some paper, so it would be fantastic to put paper within that recommendation. Again, these are accessories to that product that you've ultimately decided. And this is fantastic for, AOV, as well as increasing the basket size. And this strategy is typically people who view this also bought, or people who have this in their cart also bought. The next one is discovery, which is the strategy being things like you may also like. And using the printer example is latching onto data points. You know that this is an inkjet printer. One of the things that I required from my inkjet printer was that it was a photo printer. Well, for discovery, it'd be fantastic to also be presented with things that might be related to photos, since I've just bought, since I am about ready to buy a photo printer. So things such as photo editing software, be it Photoshop or any of the other Adobe suites, or even additional like digital cameras. Just to, again, give me some discovery, give me some, I might also need this other stuff.
Or even to give you entirely new ideas, right? This strategy is used a lot on the home page of a site where you just want to give people a sense for what sorts of things they could actually find and use. And you have a great analogy where you compare this to offline stores. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so Again, it's being able to walk into a warehouse and into an offline, and when you're in a offline environment, you might walk directly to the aisle that has the printers, but ultimately you have to walk to the cash register, and in that 50 feet to 100 feet from the time that you go from the product that you ultimately are picking up and putting into your basket to the checkout counter, there you are flooded with a lot of different visuals, a lot of other products. Well, this is the online world of basically doing that, where you've identified a product, you're about ready to go to the checkout counter, and to be able to put in front of me other things that I might be interested in. If you could pretty much tie it back to that product that's in my basket, you'll probably get me to buy additional things. And then the last strategy, which I think is probably the most effective, is the recently viewed. It sounds very elementary, but the way to think about it is a personal breadcrumb. Now, I might be looking at different printers, but also in that session I could be looking at other things like digital cameras or just a slew of things. Now, if it wasn't for recently viewed, this recommendation strategy, in order to get back to a product that I viewed maybe 10 or 15 clicks ago, what I would have to do is go to my browser and click back to the point where I finally get to that product. Well, with the recently viewed strategy, it is, again, a personal, almost breadcrumb, personal wish list of here are all the products that I've been looking at recently. It'd be fantastic. I'm considering this product, but I'm looking at also accessories for this product. Ultimately, I want to go back to that product. Maybe I am doing some comparison shopping of other products like it. Basically, to shortcut my experience back to that initial product, that's just a fantastic recommendation strategy. And if you are to A/B test all of these strategies against each other, I will pretty much guarantee that the recently viewed strategy will probably be one of the most engaged upon recommendation, as well as ultimately leading to just a higher conversion rate.
Cool. And with that, we are ready for our poll. So let's bring up our poll right now. And we should all be seeing this on our screens. And here's the question that I'm going to ask everybody who's attending to answer. The question is, which of these benefits is most important? Now, we know that all three of these are important in most e-commerce sites, but which of these benefits is most important to your e-commerce site? Is it increasing conversion? Do you have more focus on adding on additional items to your sales, increasing AOV, or are you really trying to drive return shopping visits and loyalty? And this is a great question that helps us guide the rest of this presentation. While they're asking, Davin, I already have one question. The question here is from somebody. Do you make these services, I think they mean the recommendation services, match the look and feel of my site?
Great question, Tim. Absolutely. We want to make sure that the user experience is seamless. We don't want it so that way they are so drastically different that there is any doubt or any question that this is being run and being powered by the same company. So instead, we're going to do everything within our power to make sure that the look and feel is consistent. That goes all the way down to things such as color, but also things such as like even font size and font families on the recommendations.
All right. So we're coming up. I think we're ready to end. I did have a question. What do we mean by increased conversion? I think that's yes, in converting more viewers to sales. Questioner on that. So with that, let's go ahead. We're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's close the poll. All right, the poll is closed, and I would like to share it. So here's the results. So as we can see, not really surprising, there's a strong focus on conversion. That's quite normal for the e-commerce world. But we do have some healthy returns here for add-on items, additional add-on items to the sale and driving return shopping visits and loyalty.
Fantastic. And, again, Tim, that is to be expected. Everybody is in, we're all in e-commerce ultimately to make money, to drive revenue. But that said, there is something to be said about the user experience and respecting the user experience and the shopping experience. There was recently a study or a report / article that was published on CNN about the millennials. And depending on how you term the millennial generation, in this particular case, it was ages 29 and below, so 18 to 29. And what they found was that this is a generation, this up-and-coming generation that has been kind of raised to understand the Internet. They don't know anything other than the Internet, the world before the Internet. But with them, with this generation, it's very much about no loyalty. It's where can I find this product and where can I find it, the cheapest in many cases. So with that said, what you want to do with the millennials, though, is you want to make sure that you are optimizing the user experience for them, or for just your users in general, but in this particular case, millennials, because again, it's not going to be about loyalty. They're not loyal to a brand, to a website, or anything else. They are very, unlike if you were going to a shopping mall or to a brick and mortar where it takes effort for you to get into your car or to walk to the next door. When it comes to the online world, it's very easy to get to the next door. It's just a simple click away. So in that particular case, and taking this all the way back to recommendations, what we're talking about, the user experience, you want to give them and respect the user experience as much as possible, because if you don't respect that user experience, not only are you potentially going to lose them for this particular session, but for future sessions in addition.
Great. All right, let's get back to it. So now back into the presentation.
Fantastic. So now that we've talked about a couple of different strategies, let's talk about where to use the recommendations. So, just kind of step through here. So on the home page, some of the recommendations that we recommend would be things such as top sellers, new products, most popular, or just and as well as recently viewed. Again, this is really gearing towards discovery as well as, in essence, in a little bit personalization, especially when you start thinking about recently viewed. Based off of recently viewed products, you may also like these other products. At the category landing pages, strategies that are fantastic are things like top sellers within that category, new products within that particular category, as well as most popular or trending products in that category. As far as the item detail page or product detail pages, again, very simple. Things such as people who view this also view, so similar products. People who view this also bought or ultimately bought. And then that recently viewed, that personal breadcrumb should absolutely be on the item detail pages as well. For checkout and cart pages, this is all about the adding to the basket. So people who bought this also bought, or things that go well with this particular product. So those type of strategies. And then lastly, for blogs and non-product content, if you are writing a blog about digital cameras and aspect ratios, or about printers, I've seen it too many times where you're talking about products, but you're actually not giving anybody any of these products. This is a fantastic place to tie in product recommendations. So if your blog or your content is about digital cameras, this might be a good place to deploy a digital camera type of top sellers within the digital camera category. Next, let's talk about where else could we use them. So we obviously know about online. We've gone through homepage and category page, item detail pages, etc. But email and order confirmation, marketing type of emails, those would be fantastic to put the recommendations on. Same thing with mobile sites and apps. If you do have a brick and mortar presence or a physical store, it'd be fantastic to be able to put these recommendations on either your app or your responsive design or your M.dot websites for the recs and make them nice and crisp. Because again, with with a smartphone, you have to really respect the real estate. So you have to make sure that those recommendations are on point, number one, and also very easy to engage with with a small form factor. Additionally, for the offline, if you do have those stores, in-store kiosk recommendations at end carts or at kiosks that you might deploy throughout the store would be fantastic. And what I'm seeing more and more in the U.S. market, at least, is that even in the in-store experience, receipts, although you could have it either printed out and handed to you right on the spot, or a lot of retailers here are actually saying, would you like us to email this to you? And that's another fantastic place where you can actually deploy these recommendations, is if they do choose to or opt in to have it emailed to them. Yeah. Some recommendation on that receipt.
Tell them the other things that you know from their behavior that they're likely to have a propensity to buy.
Exactly. So that let's take this all the way back to now SLI and some of our recommendations out in the wild. So on Michael C. Fina, for example, on the item detail pages, you have a recommendation based off of people who view this also viewed. Additionally, for another one of our clients, Renew Life, on their homepage, best selling within a particular category. And then finally, for footwear, etc., it's a recommendation strategy at the cart level. So it's one, again, we talked about a lot of different things, not only about the actual recommendations as well as the placements. And with SLI, we are able to not only jump in on those really popular as well as high-performing recommendations, but you can actually deploy the recommendations on a whole slew of different locations within your website.
Yeah, and I think, Davin, we're seeing these three pages are showing three of your different strategies, right? So in the case of Michael C. Fina, you're helping get the exact right product. Maybe it's not quite this ring I want, maybe it's one of these other rings. In the case of Renew Life, this is discovery and exploration. I came to the home page. You have no idea. I'm on the home page. You have no idea exactly what I'm here to shop for today. So show me a bunch of things that are likely hits and likely targets to get me going. And then on the footwear, et cetera, like you said, this is really increasing the ASP. This is adding to the basket size by showing me a series of connected products. So what's interesting here is that not only are these in three different places in the site, but they're reflecting three of your different strategies, and it's right strategy for the right situation for the best results.
Absolutely. So lastly, let's talk about why SLI. Why SLI Learning Recommendations. One-stop shop. In many cases, the challenge with the recommendations, and regardless if you're talking about SLI or any of the other third-party vendors that offer recommendations, is getting the product data. The fantastic thing with SLI, if you're already leveraging SLI for search, we already have the product data. So in essence, it's almost a platform-ish where we already have the data. So now we can deploy that not only in and utilize that not only for the search but also for recommendations. Additionally, one of the big things here is a predictable monthly fee. It's not attribution based. It is a one monthly fee.
Which makes budgeting just much easier.
Exactly. And then last, quick and easy implementation, and as well as a dedicated customer success manager, where we will work hand in hand with you to make sure that not only are we deploying the right strategies at the right places, but also monitoring those strategies and testing the strategies to ensure that the optimal strategy is actually being displayed. And the interesting thing here is we've only been live with learning recommendations for a couple months now, and the returns, our early returns, have already been very fruitful, to the point where some of our customers are actually seeing, on average, 10% click-through rate with almost 5% increase in conversion.
All right, so I think we're ready for Q&A, and we actually have had a good number of questions flowing in here, Davin. So the first one here, there's actually a couple here who are related, so I'm going to ask them to combine them into one question. So the question is, how difficult is implementation? And then the related question was, how much time does it take to implement?
Implementation is very straightforward. I won't get too technical. That's where the dedicated customer success manager does come in. But at a very high level, it's basically A, identifying where you want the placements to be, and then B, deploying JavaScript to actually power the recommendations in that placement.
Okay, cool. Here's another question. So how much control do I have over these strategies? Can I use different strategies in different places on my site?
Absolutely. And through the Merchant Console, you do have the ability to deploy which strategies where on the website. So again, things such as recently viewed or top products within a particular category that can be deployed on a category page or even on the home page. You absolutely can kind of pick and choose, cherry pick which strategies and where you want to actually deploy them on the website.
Someone asked, does this take advantage of the learning from search?
It does. It absolutely does. And as a matter of fact, it's reciprocal if you think about it, where people who search, it's a fantastic way of really seeding the technology or the information of listening to what people are searching for as well as what they're clicking on, and then correlating that back to the recommendation strategy. So if I am on Michael C. Feeney and I'm looking at diamond rings, the recommendations will be other diamond rings that people have done searches for that have correlated back to that original product. Additionally, as people are engaging within the recommendations that are found within the recs, what's going to happen is our learning engine, which reflects back onto my very first slide, is learning from those actions, and it is factoring in those click-through rates as well as, in other cases, conversion data to automatically re-rank the product set that is displayed on the recommendations.
Great answer. Someone says, what is speed like? Will this slow down my site?
Absolutely not. The speed, now we could talk about infrastructure and SLI's different data centers. So in the U.S., we have 5 data centers, and across the globe, we have over 10 data centers. All of them are load balanced, making sure that recommendations our learning recommendations product is leveraging the same state-of-the-art, best-in-class infrastructure that we are using for our search.
Great. One more question, last question. Is A/B testing possible?
Absolutely. It's possible as well as recommended.
Okay. So that's it, unless there's any more questions. Last chance, folks. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. If you would like to learn more about learning recommendations, please be in touch with your customer success manager or whoever your contact is here at SLI, and we'll be overjoyed to help you learn how to use recommendations to make your on-site more effective. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.